The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Hey, what is up, YouTube fam? This is Dupree, aka Darth Hater here, and I just came upon this article by Collider about why the Mandalorian may be headed to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And let's see what this is about. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the sprawling 14-acre Star Wars theme experience at both Disneyland and Disney's Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World, is a remarkable accomplishment in many ways, with highly themed elements and rich, somewhat cumbersome mythology. But one of the most frustrating aspects of the land is how specifically it's wedged into Star Wars canon. Everything you see and do is set in the very narrow amount of time between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, that's definitely true. This leads to minor problems like many of the characters in the signature attraction Rise of Resistance now being fully dead, and larger ones like little kids coming into the land and not getting to see or meet their favorite Star Wars characters like Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. Chewbacca is a walk-around character and you can hear Yoda's voice in lightsaber build experience, but as a new rumor suggests, Disney could be loosening the land's specificity and could soon be opening up to characters from The Mandalorian. According to Disney historian, my co-host for animation podcast Fine Tuning, Jim Hill, on the most recent episode of Disney Dish podcast, characters from The Mandalorian may soon roam freely in Galaxy's Edge. Hill states that The Mandalorian, the child, characters like Boba Fett, yes, Boba Fett, and Bo-Katan could soon make appearances at Black Spire Outpost on the planet of Batuu, a new chunk of Star Wars mythology invented by Lucasfilm and Walt Disney Imagineering specifically for the parks. He even suggests that Kylo Ren's ship, a leftover design from Colin Trevorrow's version of Episode 9, could be swapped out for a full-size version of the Razor Crest. The Mandalorian's signature ship that spoilers was destroyed. No wait, yeah, that was kind of a bit of a bummer. Especially if you bought, the Hasbro Razor Crest like I did, bummer. Whether or not the timeline for these new characters totally works is up for debate. The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, the first Star Wars sequel trilogy installment. The Force Awakens takes place around 30 years after Return of the Jedi. So conceivably, these characters could still be crisscrossing the galaxy at this time. And additionally, one of the promised features of Galaxy's Edge that we're all still waiting for was the presence of assorted aliens, bounty hunters, and droids. Yes! That is one major thing that I felt like the park has been lacking. Who could interact and mingle with guests, take note of your adventures in the land. The idea that reputation would follow you around the area of the park is tantalizing, as yet unrealized. Perhaps the presence of these new, more familiar characters could also lead management to prioritize some kind of live stunt show on Galaxy's Edge. All of the infrastructure is in place, and a version of one of the stunt shows originally planned for the land was seen, however, fleeting at the opening of the area of the park at Disneyland. It was neat injecting the characters from the Mandalorian and Hill's post, potentially Rogue Squadron, for an update of the Millennium Falcon. The Smuggler's Run attraction to Galaxy's Edge would be a great way to give guests characters that they're familiar with, while also slightly disrupting the rigid setting of the land and adding some much needed fun. Yes, I'm kind of all for this. This kind of interchangeability also isn't new to Star Wars experiences at Disneyland parks. Back in 2011, they introduced a new version of the classic 80s attraction, Star Tours. Yes, they definitely did. That ride got a new update, overhaul, and it was dope. It still is dope. I love Star Tours. This new iteration, now dubbed Star Tours The Adventure Continues, featured different sections that could be rearranged to give guests an entirely new experience each time. When The Force Awakens opened in 2015, there were new locations that were added with the mix, and Variations on previous locations, which were once locked, now provided more variety. Now, new sequences were added around the release of The Last Jedi. The Crystal Cave sequence in the film was a direct reference to the original version of Star. Oh yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, it really was when you think about it. And as sad as it is, that was probably one of my favorite moments in The Last Jedi. Just the Falcon going through the planet, Chewie and Rey and the port. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, the cave sequence in the film was a direct reference to the original version of Star Tours and the Rise of Skywalker. Damnably, as of now, you cannot visit the beach planet of Scarif as seen in Rogue One. Oh man, yeah, that would be cool. Another thing to keep in mind is how severely the Disney parks have been hit during the past year, with every theme park on the planet being closed. At one point, several others have opened only to reclose, and Disneyland has never been reopened for good reason. Nearly $1 billion was cut from forthcoming projects, which led to things like the Mary Poppins attraction at Epcot being canceled. There was going to be a Mary Poppins attraction? That's interesting. Being canceled outright, and several other projects, including Tron Legacy roller coasters at the Magic Kingdom and the Guardians attraction at Epcot. Yeah, that was a bummer. So, I've been in the know for a little while that the Tron Legacy roller coasters were being built at Walt Disney World. It's literally the same roller coaster verbatim that they had in Shanghai Disney, and they just built it over here, but in Florida. It was supposed to be done summer of 2019, and me and my friends were all thinking about going just to, ride it and have that full Tron experience. Over here in Southern California at Disneyland, or I should say at California Adventure, a few years ago they had this thing called like Tron Nights or a Disney's Tronica or something like that. It was like basically like Tron DJ playing like EDM and house music and like all this Daft Punk and Tron music, and it was cool. And then they stopped that and just made it like Alice in Wonderland theme, which was cool, but it just really wasn't the same. It's severely postponed, so we will see when these new walk-around characters and attraction overlays happening. It's a big question mark. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna be truthfully honest about Galaxy's Edge. For somebody that's been going since pretty much day one, I was at the grand opening. I was actually at the opening day ceremony in the back, watching, George and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams up there. Galaxy's Edge was one of the greatest gifts Disneyland and Lucasfilm could have given us, aside from obviously more Star Wars movies and just more Star Wars in general. It was a very big and ambitious project, and we all knew everything that they were promising at the beginning, because they announced it at D23 some years before that, and we all knew everything that they promised probably was not going to be able to be. There was supposed to be a people mover with this thing with like huge tusks that was kind of like a bantha or whatever that people would be able to get on. It was motorized, so it would look like it was walking around. That never was brought into fruition. There was a stunt show between resistance fighters and First Order stormtroopers, and it only played once a day for about a week and a half before they stopped it. I myself never saw it, but I've seen videos of it happening, and it looked cool. It was like, something different, like, to keep people interested. Star Wars Land, there was really no characters walking around aside from 2 stormtroopers, Kylo Ren very rarely, Rey, Chewie, and that's it. When this land was first announced, there were supposed to be aliens and bounty hunters and more resistance people and more First Order people and scoundrels and smugglers and just a huge assortment of people that was supposed to make it way more interactive and everything, and that never was brought to fruition. They even tested out a droid their version of some kind of droid in Tomorrowland in front of Star Tours, which I never saw. But it was like a lot of like beta testing for the park, and a lot of stuff wasn't really, like I said, put in there. The most interactive thing that you could have done in the park was play the app game where you're walking around scanning things and doing little stories. But at the same time, it's like just something to do because there wasn't really anything in the park to do aside from walking around and shopping and eating. And the park opened for the first year. It was just one ride, Smuggler's Run, and that's it. So if you went a lot, like such as I did, you basically did everything there is or was to do there in like a few weeks or whatever. It wasn't really anything new, aside from every now and then there'd be a new merch drop. But even that was kind of limiting. I always thought that when they announced these two parks, okay, cool, like, two different, Galaxy's Edges at two different Disney parks. And my hope was that, okay, I know they're going to have one for the sequel trilogy. Like, that's where Disney wants to take Star Wars. They put, like, the OG trilogy and the sequels and the OG trilogies and the prequels in the past for the most part. Use them a little bit as a reference, but they wanted to focus on the new sequel trilogy characters, Rey, Kylo, and everything, and build around that. To which they did, but I was hoping that they do, two different parks in the same. Realistically, you could have two Batus, two Galaxies, two Black Spire outposts, but they could be set in different timelines. Like, my thought was always, okay, maybe in Disneyland you have it themed for sequel trilogy stuff. So Rey, Kylo, First Order Stormtroopers, the Resistance First Order, Hondo and that Millennium Falcon, like all that sequel. And then maybe at Disney World you have it original trilogy. So you could have, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, like, you could have all of them there and not really change anything. Like, the Falcon can still be there, replace Kylo's ship with a TIE fighter or Darth Vader's TIE fighter or Imperial shuttle, replace the First Order Stormtroopers with Imperial troops. You wouldn't really have to do much, but just like minor changes. It would have given people a reason to want to go to both parks. We got both parks as sequel trilogies, so it's like, honestly, there's no reason to want to go to the one in Florida. There's not much difference aside from the fact that you can get, alcoholic blue and green milk, in Florida, whereas you can't get that here. But this, Disney's like learning, like, after what we got with the sequel trilogy and things, Disney's like kind of trying to put all that stuff on the back burner, and the new hot thing, in a sense, the savior is the Mandalorian. So it's good to see that they see what's working, what the fans want, and they're willing to apply it to the parks. I don't know if they're going to do it to both parks. I'm hoping that they do it for Disneyland out here in Southern California, that they just theme it to the Mandalorian, mostly because I don't live out there and I don't care. They could leave Disney World as, sequel trilogy, Galaxy's Edge, but that's Disney World's problem. That's not our problem. When you're walking around Galaxy's Edge, it looks like real Star Wars. For somebody that's been on multiple film sets, it looks like a real film set. Honestly, they could do some slight changes and actually film an episode, The Mandalorian, there. They can close things off, film, and then put the park back into normal and nobody would know. Gonna take a shot in the dark and probably say they probably have at one point. It's a giant film set that they own. They probably have done it. They film The Mandalorian out here in Southern California already, so that's not really, a stretch. I'm hoping that they do this. But then also, the parks have been closed for coming up on a year now, so they have all the time in the world for refurbishment, upgrading, and to do anything and everything they want backstage, to change things around, to change things over. Who knows how long until the parks are going to be reopened. Honestly, how things are looking over here in Southern California, especially the LA and Orange County area, things aren't looking really good. So I'm thinking it's going to be a long while before anything's being open soon. Like, they still even have to finish work on the Marvel Tower that was supposed to come out like last summer too. COVID. So, as somebody would say, coronavirus. Anyway, guys, that's just been my thoughts on this Collider article. I'm gonna leave the link in the description down below. But anyway, guys, tell me what you guys thought about this article. Are you on board with them including the Mandalorian or changing things in Galaxy's Edge already to the Mandalorian? Do you want them to change this one park? Do you want them to change both parks? What do you think about what I said about original trilogy, at Disneyland or Disney World, and then switching things out, kind of like they just said, like how they did in Star Tours in 2011. Yeah, so if you guys like this video, please hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And then also, please hit that bell so you can get notifications whenever I drop my newest videos. But thank you guys for watching this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And until next time, may the force be with you.